like how every car that you've ever liked or enjoyed, they now have to just discontinue it for literally no reason. Car manufacturers love doing this. They love discontinuing cars that you once knew and loved, you grew up with, and car manufacturers are like, you know what? Let's just discontinue it for literally no reason. The Camaro, how people really love purchasing the Camaro because it's a really cool sports car? Yeah, Chevy was like, you know what? Let's discontinue that shit. I don't know why. Hey, I fucking hate making money. I hate that people are purchasing cars that are selling very well, and I just want to discontinue it because making money just fucking sucks, bro. It really just fucking sucks. I mean, in this modern age, who needs money? I think I'd rather live in the street and just be broke for the rest of my life. Why the fuck would I want to make money? But in all seriousness, I don't understand why car manufacturers have to discontinue so many cars. And it's not that they discontinue them. Modern cars literally suck. Like, now they're making every single car electric now. For literally no reason, simply because they can. The Porsche Cayman and the Porsche Boxer? Yeah. Porsche was like, you know what? Let's discontinue those cars. You know how people like them because they run on fossil fuels and gasoline and petrol? You know how people like that? Yeah, let's just make it electric because we can. You know how people really like the Hellcat? Yeah, let's make it electric. Let's discontinue the gas version of it. Let's make it electric, and let's put, I kid you not, this is what they did. They put speakers inside the car, like in specific parts of the car, so the quote-unquote exhaust, which it doesn't have one because it's electric, so that it sounds like a gas car. If that is not the gayest shit I've ever heard, I don't know what is. And what's even more gay is the people who actually are okay with buying this. Like, I generally believe if we boycott companies and tell them, hey, we're not going to purchase your product because we don't like it, companies will have no choice but to listen, because if not, they won't make money. They won't make money, and they'll go bankrupt. We need to get rid of these stupid electrification of car laws. It's just stupid and idiotic. I don't necessarily have a problem with electric cars, but I don't think every single car that you purchase should be electric. I think having options is good. If you want to drive an electric car, by all means go drive an electric car. And let's stop this bullshit of like the fossil fuel or like fossil fuels being bad for the environment. Use your brain for more than like 1 second. So where does most electricity come from? Obviously not all electricity comes from this, but most electricity comes from something called power plants. And power plants throw a lot of harmful gases into the air. Okay? That's just how power plants work. They're not very good for the environment, and most electricity comes from power plants. And also the batteries that you use to make these cars, it's not very good. Like, the process behind all of that, the mining of all these, metals or whatever is required for these batteries, that in and of itself is very bad for the environment. And these cars only last as long as the batteries last, because the whole car is lined up with batteries in the bottom. Once the batteries wear down, that's it. You need to get a new car. So these cars are just another form of planned obsolescence, because now you have to purchase a new car in like 10, 15 years. You can't own the car for as long as you want. No. Within 10 years, you're going to have to purchase a new car, because if those batteries get damaged or something happens to those batteries, you're going to need a new car. So a lot of car people really also like manual cars, and, a lot of car manufacturers don't even really like making their cars manual anymore. I don't even know why. For a while, Toyota wasn't making their Supras in manual. I don't know why they were doing that. And then they brought back the manual, and of course everyone started buying the manual Supras now because people want manual cars. Again, I'm not trying to shit on people that want their automatics, but give people options, my dude. It's like these car manufacturers, like, they like to fuck with us. You know, when you go to a restaurant, they don't just sell one thing. They sell various different things because people like the idea of having options. People don't just want the same thing every single time. And I feel like it's no different with cars, except car manufacturers like discontinuing literally every good car that they have. And modern cars are a modern disaster. They have all these stupid features that no one asked for, and they're more unreliable than God knows what. You know how like people like grew up with using a shifter now? Car companies have been saying, you know what, fuck this. Fuck the Prindle shifter. No, let's add let's put the shifter right here. You know, that's what they do on this Tesla Cybertruck. They put the shifter right up here. Let's put it right here so that now whenever you need to switch gears, you just look up and like you have to look up and just like, you know, confusingly press a button or something. If that's not a car accident waiting to happen, I don't know what is. Like, car manufacturers are genuinely trying to rage bait us. I genuinely believe that's what they're trying to do. Fuck climate control buttons. Let's put that behind a screen. Let's put that behind a giant iPad in the middle of your screen. So now you have to look. Now, instead of just feeling a button as you're driving and looking at the road, now you have to look at a fucking tablet, like you're a fucking 5-year-old iPad kid. Now you have to look at a tablet if you want to change the temperature on your car. Like, it is so stupid. You better hope your Tesla doesn't get into a crash, because weld that shit with glue. Now, I don't care if you use glue that's stronger than Flex Seal or glue weaker than Elmer's glue. You better not be using glue to repair my car if it gets into a car crash. You better not be using that stuff. I don't care how strong this glue is. Tesla claims it's insanely strong. I don't care. Glue dissolves. Glue wears down. Back in the day, when a car would break and get into a car crash, you would join the two pieces of metal back together through a process called welding. You would join the two pieces of metal, melt the points of contact, melt the metal at the points of contact, and have them permanently stick back together through a process called welding. It's very crazy and very interesting how that works, and it's actually permanent, unlike glue, which is not permanent. Moral of the story, be careful when buying new cars, because you might just not get what you paid for. The Tesla Cybertruck is $100,000, and it's more unreliable than a tin can. Be careful. Make educated choices, and make sure you buy the right car. I'll see you guys in the next one.